Hi, you guys. Today I'm going to talk about what happens right before you heal to majority of people. Right when you are on the brink of healing, right before you have that breakthrough, right before you get to the place that you're trying to get at, whatever you're trying to get at, whatever you're trying to heal from, what happens to most people is a pattern. So let's talk about this pattern today because when we become aware of the patterns, that's when we can actually choose a different pattern. So I'm going to bring that awareness to you today. Now, as you all know, we have an ego, and something about the ego, a really major trait of the ego, is the ego loves to have identities. So if you have been in struggle your entire life, it wants to have the identity as somebody who struggles. And what the ego does is it loves to keep identities as if these are identities are real people that don't want to die. Okay, so like I said, if you've been in struggle mode your whole life, your ego is going to want to keep the identity of being a person who has a life filled with struggle. Now, if you are somebody who has been insecure your whole life, your ego is going to want to keep the identity of somebody who is insecure. Whether that identity serves you or not, the ego just tries to keep what is familiar. It wants to keep that familiar identity and choose that for you every single day until we see the pattern and choose differently. So how does this show up for us when we are on our healing journey and when we are on the brink? Is that the right word, brink? I have this feeling I'm making up the word brink, but I'm going to pretend I'm not, and I'm going to hope you know what I mean when I say brink. When we are so close to having that healing breakthrough, what happens is our ego starts to realize that we have had this identity of this version of us that we're trying to heal from, and this identity is slowly fading away. Maybe we're doing the coaching, maybe we're doing the healing method that's making this identity slip away into a new identity. But what the ego does is it wants to keep it alive. It wants to make you stay in that identity. And how this shows up is right before, I see this so often, right before you do the thing that you know will serve you, that you know will help you, that you know will heal you, you go to your default distraction and you may have no idea what is happening. One distraction could be that your body turns on lazy mode and makes you feel extra sleepy, and it makes you feel like you want to take a nap right before you go towards the thing that's going to help you heal. Another default could be maybe you have this sudden desire to go on TikTok, to scroll on YouTube. By reaching out to somebody you know that you can sleep with, some sort of dopamine activity or something that distracts you, that usually is your default distraction from going towards the thing that will heal you. And why this happens is, no, you're not a lazy person, and no, you are not necessarily addicted to these things. It's actually your ego fighting you. It's fighting you because it doesn't want you to heal, because you've been a certain version for majority of your life, and the ego wants to keep that version of you. It wants you to stay in that version. So it goes to these default distractions, to the gambling, to the sex, to the people, so that, and maybe it's not to those extremes, it could be, like I said, just feeling extra sleepy and extremely unmotivated before you go towards it, so that you keep your old identity. People go into that healthy relationship for the first time. What the ego does to keep the identity of being someone who is only involved with toxic partners because they feel so unworthy, that's their old identity. What happens is they suddenly start to see the bad, quote unquote, bad qualities of the other partner. They suddenly become icked out by their partner. They suddenly feel extremely turned off by their partner for things that aren't even rational things, for things that are maybe superficial, for things that don't really matter, because the ego was just trying to keep that old identity and turn them off the person that is good for them, because that's not in their old identity. Toxicity is in the old identity. And so it's so important for us to become aware and see the pattern so we can make the decision to snap out of it, so that when we are approaching the thing that's going to help us with the healing to get to that place, and we suddenly see that we're going to our default distraction, we can see it for what it is and say, no, we're not going to distract ourselves. We're going to go through with it anyway, because at the end of the day, it is a side of you that can die off, but it can only die off when you are aware that it is there and you fight against it. Okay, you are in almost like this fighting battle against your future I'm not going to say healed self, because don't have the expectation you'll ever be 100% healed. That's an unrealistic expectation. But you are a version of yourself that is no longer in that old identity. It's the old versus the new. It's like a battle against each other, and you have to outrun your old identity. You have to choose every day to fight against it until it dies off, until it gives up, until you no longer go towards those distractions and you just are that new version of yourself. So because you have this old identity that your ego wants to live on, what happens right before you heal, as well as the distraction mode that happens, is things get worse before they get better. So if you are trying to shift your mindset in some way, and you're trying to think a certain way, and you're trying to be more secure, and you want to know that you are enough, know that you are valuable, and you're trying to consistently think in that way, if you have this identity in you that has been insecure for most of your life, then what will happen is those insecure thoughts are going to pop in a lot more than they did before, because it's trying to stay alive, because your ego is trying to fight you in this battle. And so whatever you are trying to heal from right now, it's likely going to get harder. The thoughts are going to be self-sabotaging thoughts. Desire for you to do certain actions, those desires will be self-sabotaging desires. So don't be surprised. And you can almost see this version of yourself like a little child throwing a temper tantrum. I always think of it almost in a sympathetic way, because the only reason we developed these identities was for survival, was for the feeling of safety, for the feeling of it being familiar in the body. And so, have compassion with that side, but don't feed into it. You need to allow those thoughts to just pass by. See it as a toddler having a tantrum that's trying to fight you. You don't need to fight the toddler back. We don't do that when a toddler is having a tantrum. We allow the tantrum to pass. We allow those thoughts to pass by. We then do the thing that will help heal us to become that version of ourselves. So there will be a fight. You can handle the fight. Put up with the fight. Don't allow any emotional charge to go towards it, to allow it to live. Allow it to die off so that you can go into this new identity. So yeah, I hope this brought awareness to you of what could happen or what is happening to you as you're on this healing journey, and know that you can get there. Okay, I hope this brought awareness to you. Thank you for watching. All of my coaching information is down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.